Okay, we're going to do a chord solo to the Christmas song. Be in the key of C, and we're actually going to start on an open C chord, but I want to target this second string, this C note right here, this octave. I want this to be the melody. So let's get where you can see me. I'm going to use something called a rest stroke. I'm going to go all the way, and I'm going to rest on the first string, and that'll ensure that the last string I hit is the second string, and that'll help bring it out a little bit louder than the other notes, right? So I want to bring C and going from the fifth string to the second string and stopping on the first string. So I'm going to use that technique pretty much throughout the whole piece, but you might not be able to see this hand. So we start with an open C chord, right? That just got the octave C there in the lead. You could have also fingered it up here in fifth position, starting on the 8th fret, 7th fret, 1, 5th fret, 5th fret. So 4, 3, 1, 1. That's obviously stretchier and harder to play, so I think this is easier. I'd rather just use this open chord. But if for whatever reason you wanted to play this in C sharp, you could play it here, right? Because you'd have to refinger down here, the C sharp. But C, this way. Then I'm going to jump up to the octave C here, C between the dots on the 8th fret, and I'm going to play C6-9. So some of you know these chords, some of you don't know these chords. When you're trying to figure out what a chord is, you could just use the major scale, 1, 2, 3. So I know this is some kind of, and I'm going to say, well, even though C should be in the bass, and that should be in the bass, C is still the root note, I'm going to actually put E in the bass. Because I already had C in the bass. It's time for somebody else, but C is still the root of the chord. So 1, 2, 3, so it's a major chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, some kind of C6 chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that gets to the 9. Now I'm going to start counting from that middle octave. C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's just part of the triad, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we've got a third, a sixth, a 9, a fifth, and an octave. I might not go through that much detail on every chord, but always find the lowest root and just count up the scale until you find the degree of the chord. You also might, to ensure accuracy, use 2 fingers here as a double stop on the 8th frets, first and second string. Because if you do this and mess up and do this, well, see, now this is a minor. It's not even really minor. It's all kinds of messed up. So if you grab that chord, just make sure you only grab 2 notes. So I might do it like that just because I'm lazy and I'll use the 2 fingers. If you wanted to, like I said, you could put a root in the end. You could also put that down here. By the way, speaking of the C6-9 chord, because I have to digress, you could also do that same voicing right here. Starting on the 5th string, you just don't get the high C. So it's not going to work for this song because the melody is a high C, but showing you that voicing, you could have the root on the 5th string, or you could do the root on the 6th string. It's basically the same chord. So we got the first 2 notes, chestnuts, right? Now let's go back down to G7 temporarily. So this is my G7, root, 5th, 7th, 3rd, 5th, root, right? G7. Let's take off the power chord here, the root and the 5th, because those are the really boring notes. As guitar players, that's the bass player's job, and we don't have to play those notes. So now I've got F, B, D, and G, so that's the 7th, the 3rd, the 5th, and the root. It's basically just a baby bar chord with the flat 7 or the New York cup of coffee, cream and 2 sugars, in the bass here. So the most boring notes of the chord are the root and the 5th. These are really boring notes, right? So how about if you put a whole step above the root? Like here would have this would be called G9. Now you can say, well, that's 1, 2, but it's really the 9 above here, right? So it's really way up the octave. So this would be G9, and this would be G13. Those are 2 great chords, although we don't need that chord for here. I'm digressing. So if this is the root, 3rd, 5th, and octave, so let's say root, flat 7, 3rd, 5th, and octave, I'm going to make this a sharp 5 chord. That D is going to come up to D sharp. So you could just do it still as a bar chord, but I'm going to refinger it. This is another one of those nanu chords, except it's the opposite of the diminished or the half diminished that we've done before. This is going to go outsides, insides. So this, and if you put your thumb on G, that's a great chord right there. Sounds great resolving to a C major 7, right? So this is a G7 sharp 5. If you wanted to think of this as G7 flat 13, you could do that too. But I'm going to think of this as G7 sharp 5 or G7 plus. Plus means augmented. Augmented means to increase, and usually we refer to the 5th as being sharped when we say augmented. So this is a G7 augmented or G7 plus 5. And the cool thing about this chord is you can do it with a scale in whole tones, in whole steps. There'll be a whole lesson on augmented chords and all that kind of stuff, but I'm going to take this chord up to start on the 7th position with this. So outsides, insides, and I'm just going to write it all the way down till I run out of room here, on all the way to F or whatever. So I've got the C, C6-9, and then these augmented, right? I'm going to end with a C major 7. I want to bring out the pinky note, so once again I'm going to employ that rest stroke, and then I'm going to cheat a little bit, play the tippy top string, and then come back to the 2nd string. So I get 3 notes for the price of 1 chord. Right? And at this time, open fire. So the melody has a little bit of a rest. So rather than just sit there and wait until it's time to play the next melody note, let's do something in the bass or in the accompaniment. And here what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up from a G note, 1, 2, and I'm going to slide into A, play an A minor, a little 3-note abbreviation, A minor 7, what I call shape 3, and then slip down to A flat diminished, and this will be a 4-note. So this, I'm borrowing with my 3rd finger on the 4th and 2nd string. I've got my 2nd finger in the bass on 4, and my 3rd finger is also on 4 on the 3rd string. You can see a little piece almost like a D chord here that's on the wrong set of strings, but I'm using a bar to get that. 2nd finger in the bass. So when you're going down from A minor 7th, I just call this a manipulation. You're moving that finger up, which is towards your toes, and you're barring the 1st finger instead of barring the 3rd finger. Actually, I don't really bar the 3rd finger here. I could, but you have to be a little more careful about not to get in a wrong string. But if you use that rest stroke technique, you won't have to worry about that. So A minor 7, A flat diminished, bring out the D note. Now make an A minor chord, but put G in the bass. So you could call this A minor with a G in the bass. You could also call this a C6 with a G in the bass. They're the exact same chords, relative major, relative minor. If you're on C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you took an open C chord and put in the A note. It's a little tricky because you got to put this, and this I think is very tricky to get that pinky down there because he doesn't like to be down there so much with all these other fingers way over here. So from the open fire, bass notes, watch the fingering, 2, drop it down and manipulate, put the pinky and grab A minor, pinky on G. And then we're going to go to a D flat 9. So what I call the James Brown chords, 4th fret, D flat 9. 1, 2, 3 major, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7. That's the New York cup of coffee that has cream and 2 sugars in it. So that's D flat 7. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is a 9th chord. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Well, that's also a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's a 5th. So this is D flat 9, but I'm going to sharp the 5th, which is the tippy top note. I'm going to put my pinky on A natural here. So it's James Brown with a little something something on top. It looks similar to the Jimi Hendrix chord, is when you bar the 2nd string. I mean, not bar the 2nd string. Get the 2nd string in. You could actually get them both. But in this case, I like the juxtaposition of this note and that at the same time. A little tritone in there. So that's a D flat 9 sharp 5. And then we're going to play just one finger from the 5th string down. Right, just all on the 3rd fret. And if you think of C9 here, now if you want to go 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is a C9 sus 4. You could also call this G minor 7, right? That's Carlos Santana with C in the bass. Or you could call it, hey, look, Mom, one finger. That's what I'd go with. So from the 5th string, strum all the strings, and now we're going to put a note here on F with our pinky. Come to a C7, what I call hole in the middle chord, just your basic drop 2. Lift off the pinky, so manipulate that to get the melody note. So chord, note, and then land on F major 7, which I call the up and over chord. If you don't know that, it's just A minor without your 1st finger, and put your 1st finger on F. If here's F triad, up and over. So that's why it's called the up and over chord, F major 7. Now play a open E, and as you play it open E, get in 5th position, starting on the 5th string, then the 4th string with your 2nd finger, 6th fret, and then 5th fret, 5th fret. Don't get in the top note, because that'll make it sound terrible. Yeah. Yep. So what the heck is this? Well, remember that voicing we did earlier on the G7 sharp 5? Take that down chromatically and end up with it open. So here I'm in like an open position. So this is -1 and -1 or whatever, 0 I guess really. 0 and then these two notes, right? That's the exact same voicing, right? Just it looks different because of tuning discrepancy. You could also think of it this way. If this is sort of like an E chord, this would be E augmented. And I'm just putting the 7th in the bass. But it's not really in the bass because I got that low E down here. And sometimes I do a little harmonic, which if you don't know how to do that, we'll talk about that. You could even do this chime. Once again, there's a little bit of rest here. Being at your nose. There's no melody there, so you need to do something to make it interesting. Now go back to A minor, 3 note, and then I'm going to slip up to a B flat. So I'm going to play chord and then hit the C note, the 3rd string, 5th fret, and then I'm going to slip up to shape number 2, B flat 7. So it's really only a 3 note B flat 7, although I'm going to have my first finger down because I'm going to need it in just a second. It's just an abbreviation of a bar chord B flat 7, which is just a bar chord without your pinky. There's a 7th in here. But B flat 7 here, and keep your first finger down. Not only does it help you mute out the open strings, which you should always have your first finger down when you're doing 3 note chords, but I'm actually going to use it for this C note. Because I'm going to take this B flat 7. On the 3rd string, I'm going to have my first finger on the 3rd string, whether I just play 1 note or I'm going to bar it so I mute out the other notes. And you release your pinky and play the 5th fret and then return your pinky. And then we're going to go to C major 7, target the 2nd string is the melody note, so use your rest stroke. Now hit the top string. Now use your voice finger to go across 4 strings. So that could be thought of as a C6 or an A minor 7. Remember, we sort of saw that earlier, that C6 and A minor 7, note for note, the same 4 notes. So if you did this as C, like as an open chord A, this note right above it is what I call the ukulele note, right? So that's just a 1 finger, and I'll probably go from a C major 7, birdie in the middle, target the top note, which should be encompassed with your bar, and then bring up your first finger for just one finger across the 5th fret, top 4 strings only. Now make B7 sus, which if you made a B chord, is just your basic bar chord, E shape, 7th fret, take off your pinky to make it B7, and this is the note that's making it major. This is the major 3rd. So suspend it. Suspend means to hang, sort of like hanging in air. So this is a half step above that note. Suspend it, and then resolve it. Oh, by the way, the melody note will be a B, so tippy top, so all 6 strings. And then return to B7 with your birdie finger, but put pinky up here to make it 7th in ear, because that's also a 7th. This is just an octave here. If this is the root, there's the 7th, the flat 7th. Sorry. Now, we're going to modulate right here into the key of E. What the heck? Because the key of C and the key of E have nothing to do with one another. But this chord sort of being used as a pivot chord. And it lets into the key of E, but just for a second, because I'm going to slide up and do an F minor, what I call the Doobie Brother chord, F minor 7, at the 8th fret, right? X, 8, 10, 8, 9, 8. Cool. But put out your pinky on the 2nd string. So I'm going to hit the pinky. Now remember we talked about tensions a little bit, but see this sounds good because it's a whole step away from a chord tone. So that's available on the minor 7th. All right, and then we say do this, and so 2nd string once again, rest strokes. Take it off and play this birdie note. Now play B flat 7, which is here, just a normal bar chord, but I'm going to use my pinky on the same fret my 3rd finger's on, so on the 8th fret. Right, and then I hit that note and release it. By the way, that note over a B flat 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So that's a B flat 13. The difference between a 6 chord and a 13 chord is a 13 chord has a 7th in it. Like if I didn't bar this, like I think we did that in the Charlie Christian video or whatever, the Grand Slam video, down on F. I call that a 6 chord, but if you do it this way, it's a 13 chord. It's nerd. Now go to E flat major 7, right? So that lick was F minor 11. This one goes to 11. And so chord release, and then B flat 13, pinky release, and now to E flat major 7, and the pinky's got the melody again. Now keep that pinky where it is and just slide everybody down. I'm going to do a D minor 7, 11. It's going to be that same lick, but just down on a different fret. And I go to G13, and that leads me back to C. Right, so from that B sus, B7, 007, extra 7th in ear, E major 7, all the melody's going to be on the second string for a little bit. F minor 11, B flat 13 to B flat 7, E flat major 7. Moving down to D, it's a Doobie Brothers with a pinky stuck out. And then a G7 bar chord off the 6th string, 13. And now we go back into the C. And now we get to repeat all this stuff. Bass note, passing diminished chord. By the way, diminished chords are very unsettling. So that's why they make such great passing chords, because you kind of like, man, take me somewhere. C6, which is really A minor with a G in the bass. D flat 9, James Brown at 4th, a little pinky on top. Give it a little color. Look, Mom, one finger, 3rd fret, pinky. C7, hole in the middle. Release it. That melody's, so it's from the top string, and then we ride down to the 2nd string here, and I'm going to play that with F. So F major 7. Now open E. Remember, we might do a little. By the way, I'm going up an octave from where this is, so this will be the 2nd dot. I'm laying my finger across just like I would lay this finger across to get harmonics. But I'm going to lay this finger across and then use this, my 2nd finger, to kind of strum the strings. The tricky part is to keep this straight. Make sure you're right on top of the fret, not behind the fret, but right on top of the fret, and touching very lightly. Try not to move this with you, because then that technique can't happen. Oops, I was a little above. Or you could just give it a little tap. Artificial harmonics. Then A minor 7 3 note, and play the top note again. So chord note, then B flat 7 3 note. Here's that chord. I'm thinking ahead, and I have this finger ready on the 3rd string. C major 7, 1 finger, and B7. But here it's going to be a little different. Well, not that part. I take it back. That was a little early. Instead of going to E major, I'm going to stay on E minor. And I'm actually going to do this as one of the few triads, besides the 1st chord, is just an E minor. Now the melody, the find it, we need the Tiny Tots with their eyes, I'll go to find it hard to sleep tonight. We need that part. So this is find it. That's the 8th fret to the 9th fret out of E minor, 2nd string to the 3rd string, A7, tippy top string, then put the pinky on the 2nd string for that 7th in the ear note, A7. Now D minor 7, sleep, the F note, the 2nd string is the target, and then a 3-note G7. And the top note here is the target. See, and that's one of the, there's a lot of reasons why I use these 3-note chords. There's a whole lessons on that, right, about the whole system. But another reason, if you played this chord, you might not be able to target that note. But this way, it's really making sure I'm targeting that note is the tippy top note. Unless I do something stupid like this and play open strings, and then just resolve to C. Cool? Let's do the bridge. We got time, right? Start on octave C here, 10th fret. Little chromatic, back and forth, 10, 9, 10. Now, the bridge changes keys too. I'm going to go to the key of F, and I'm going to do a 2, 5, 1 to F, which would be G minor 7, C7, F. It's that circle of fifths. G is the 5th of C, is the 5th of F. So G minor. And now I'm going to noodle with this. Here's my minor 3rd up here, my 2nd finger, which is making it minor. Now I release it and get it with the bar. So it's B flat, A, B flat, 11, 10, 11. Then I'm going to go to C7, and that's that double 7. I'm going to get this melody note. And then I'm going to get a note right here, what I call the whammy note. G flat or F sharp. I'm going to try to hold this C7 throughout. Chord, utilizing the rest stroke, note A, G, F sharp, and then I'm going to go to G7 here. But you might not know this voicing. If you did G7 like an open C7 right here, and then took it all the way up to here, so that'd be G7. Country roads, that's what's making it major, so make it minor. Use that note. So this is actually going to be a bar. I'm going to have 3, starting on the 5th string. 10th fret, 3rd finger. 8th fret, 1st finger, which is barring. Pinky on the 10th fret, and then that bar continues to the 8th fret on the 2nd string. No top string, no bottom string for now. And then I'm going to take this bottom note, I'm going to alternate my bass, and go chromatically down into C7. So let me do that again. The first time, back and forth, is that whammy note 11, and that's a half step into this note where I'm about to target. G minor, bass note, because there's no melody. C, this is a little passing chord, or not a passing chord, but just an accompaniment chord. I need to do that melody again. Starts out the same way. I guess it does it twice there. Now C7 stuck out, but this time I'm not going to get the whammy note. I'm just going to get a normal F note, which would be a sus, and I'm going to go to F major 9. Ooh. Starting on the 8th fret, 8, 7. By the way, 5th string, starting on the 5th string. 8, 7, 9, 8. If this is the James Brown dominant 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, this is the same chord of the major 7. So that whole phrase again. G minor 7. I only do it down and back. Sorry for the missed note. G minor 7 this way. Bass. Now starts out the same way, but now there's just one more back and forth. Right, just one more extra note. And this time, instead of at 11, you hit 10 on the 3rd string. F major 9. I'm going to come back with the same melody at first, but now I'm going to change keys again. Instead of F major, I'm going to turn this, instead of this being the 1, I'm going to turn this into the 2 chord. F minor 7, Doobie Brother at 8th fret, starting on the 5th string. Off and on, off and on. Now B flat 007. No whammies, no whammies. So that's at 8, and we're going to resolve to E flat major 7. Now right now my pinky is on the 3rd string, on the D natural note. I'm going to slide that pinky up. I'm going to slide up, and then on the 2nd string hit F and back to E flat. To see if, now do that A minor 3-note chord, right? And extend your 1st finger all the way to here. So this will be 2 frets down, so a little stretchy. It'll be on the D note, 3rd fret. And this would be the 11. This is A minor 11. Now keep your 1st and pinky down while the other 2 notes move down. And this, I'm going to call this an A flat 7, flat 5. So it's a 3-note A flat chord with a whammy on top. This D note, 3rd fret, 2nd string. And then I'm going to go to G7 sus, and then just G7. So it's, although that's usually with your pinky, because where I've been and where I'm going. A minor 11, 5, X, 5, 5, 3 with your 1st finger. Reindeer, really. So that's reindeer, really. And then I drop the 6th and the 4th string, but keep the pinky in the 1st finger. This is A flat 7, flat 5. You could also call this D7 flat 5, but I charge more money for that. And then G sus, G7 sus, or a D minor 7 with a G in the bass. See how that minor 7 chord we were talking about earlier? It's really just a sus chord. And then resolve it. And then start out the same way. I'm asking of your simple phrase, kiss from 1 to 92. If you want. B flat 7, tricky little thinking behind me here. C major 7, 1 finger, and then B7. But this is the 3rd ending. I'm going to put a little tag here. I'm going to do a C diminished. Put a C right here. And this is nanu nanu every other string, not the outside inside nanu nanu that we did earlier, but the original nanu nanu. So 7 8, 7, 8. And really that's B7. It's B, the upper part of B7 without the power chord. And instead of the root, I've got a little jaws there. And that's a flat 9. And only dominant chords can do flat 9 chords. But I'm going to refinger it this way. Diminished chords are built in minor thirds, or every 3 fret. Now that's A diminished. I'm on the 5th fret, right? And I'm going to go to E minor, Doobie Brothers, E minor 7. And I'm going to target this second note. Then I'm going to slip down to E flat 7. My pinky is still on that second string. Well, I'm sorry, that note's still here. Now my pinky's on it. Starts with my second finger on it. Now do a D minor, right? And then, so it's E minor 7, E flat 7, D minor 7, but with an 11, because that you won't hear this note, not the Doobie Brother chord, but Doobie Brother with an extra little friend here. Then we say Merry Christmas, and we do it one more time. Good things come in threes. Now this time, the note's going to go up, so this is E flat 7, but a sus, and a D minor 7, and now the top note is the melody note. And then go to D flat 9 and stick your pinky all the way out to here. Oh, actually, I take it back. Different voicing. Do a D flat, just a double bar chord, and put your pinky there. Or if you really wanted to do a D flat 7, and this is a D flat 007. 5th string, 4th fret, 6, 4th fret, 6, 7. I think that's a little too much work. You might just do a little abbreviated chord. I want to get that bass on it. So let's do this. Let's do the double bar chord with the pinky. That's tough enough. So from the last Merry Christmas, Merry E minor, going up to a D, to a B natural. So it was chromatic. But then I do a whole step there. And that's where we got that note with a D flat, right? And then instead of just ending on the root, Mr. Levitt put in this funny little thing. I am going to play a C chord down here now. Remember I said at the very beginning that you could have also started here? So this is like a G shape. Target the second string and play Jingle Bells. Jingle Bells. Now move these two, what I call buddies, up. And now it's F major 7. So that is 8, 7, 5, 5, middle 4 strings only. Jingle bells. Now B flat 7, 3-note chord, but here's that whammy note, the flat 5 or the sharp 11. And so it's that same note. It's going to be jingle bells, jingle all the... And we'll do something different at the end. So the first jingle bells, C triad. F major 7, B flat 7, 3-note with a whammy on top. Try to get your pinky all the way up to G. I know that sucks. C, D, 3rd string, 5th fret, 7th fret, and then instead of ending on E, which is jingle bell, jingle all the way, we're gonna do a C6-9 sharp 11. Whew. So I'm starting on C, 3rd fret, 5th string, there's no bottom string. I've got the 2 notes that made me a 6-9 earlier. And then, or actually, there's the 2 notes that make me a major and a 6, and there's the 9. But instead of putting the tippy top note here on G, I'm gonna use F sharp, which is, if we know in the key of C, is all white notes. So that F sharp, it's Lydian if you want to get extra points for being a nerd. But it's a sharp 11. You could call it a flat 5. I'm gonna call it a sharp 11. So root, 3rd, 6, 9, sharp 11. And that's just, it's a surprise chords. Those are very effective at the ending because you set the listener up to, jingle. They think they're going to hear that, but they jingle all the way. So it's a nice little surprise chord. And that's Have Yourself a Merry Little... No. Yeah. The Christmas song. Chestnuts roasting on an open fire.